Welcome and thank you for joining us to learn more about the Ohio Governor's Expedited Pardon Project. This presentation provides detailed instructions on how to complete the intake packet for people interested in applying for an expedited pardon. This presentation will cover the following: the forms that make up the required intake packet, step-by-step instructions on how to complete the intake packet questionnaire, DRC 3012 Clemency Release of Information, and DRC 3033 Expedited Pardon Process Checklist, how to submit the intake packet, and how to reach out with questions. For an overview of the project, including the application process, eligibility, and more, watch Module 1, Introduction for Applicants, or visit ohioexpeditedpardon.org. To be considered for the Ohio Governor's Expedited Pardon Project, an applicant must meet the minimum eligibility requirements. If you are unsure whether or not you meet the project requirements, visit the Can I Apply page at ohioexpeditedpardon.org/can-I-apply to learn more about project criteria and disqualifying offenses. Please note that meeting the minimum requirements does not guarantee admission to the project. If you believe you meet the eligibility criteria and are interested in proceeding with the application, the first step is to download, print, and complete the intake packet. The intake packet consists of the following forms: intake questionnaire, DRC 3012 Clemency Release of Information, and the DRC 3033 Expedited Pardon Process Checklist. All forms in the packet must be completed and submitted together by mail in order to apply for the Expedited Pardon Project. Download the packet at ohioexpeditedpardon.org/how-to-apply. As a part of the intake packet, applicants must provide a complete account of their offense history, including in-state, out-of-state, and federal offenses. Entering the facts or telling the story of all of your convictions is very important. Doing so saves valuable time in the process, as the facts and details of your story are necessary for all convictions before your application can be reviewed for acceptance. Deliberately withholding or minimizing aspects of your offenses can impact your likelihood of acceptance into the project. The project team and/or the parole board will locate all of your past convictions, so there is no reason to withhold them. Plus, any Ohio convictions that are left out of the final application cannot be pardoned. For step-by-step instructions on how to locate your criminal records, visit ohioexpeditedpardon.org/how-to-apply. Please note that if you are accepted into the project, you will be expected to provide the police reports and certain court documents for all convictions on your record, if they are available. You may submit them with your intake packet or at a later date. Let's take a closer look at the intake packet. We'll start with the intake questionnaire. Page 1 requests personal information, including name, address, and contact information. We also ask that you let us know how you heard about the project, so that we can better reach out to other potential expedited pardon applicants. Page 1 then asks for demographic information. On this page, provide your gender, household income, and whether or not you are Hispanic or Latino. Page 2 continues with demographic information, including identification of race and ethnicity, marital and familial status, and military service. The next section is family information. In this section, identify all immediate family members and whether they share the same residence. Page 3 of the intake questionnaire requests conviction information. You should list all convictions, including convictions outside of Ohio, federal convictions, any convictions for serious traffic offenses such as OVIs and DUIs, and any sealed convictions. Provide a detailed description and a thorough explanation of the circumstances for every conviction. You should also note that the date of completion refers to the date when you were released from any and all supervision, including probation. Page 4 continues with space to add conviction information. If you need additional space, please use a separate sheet of paper and attach it to the completed application. After listing your convictions, you should indicate whether you were asked to pay costs and/or restitution. If you were, you should note whether or not those costs and/or restitution have been paid. Page 5 requests your post-conviction employment history for the last 5 years. Alternatively, if you were not employed, you should include an explanation as to why that is the case, such as disability, health issues, or providing full-time care for a relative. The first section of page 6 requests information about your community service or volunteer history. The Parole Board is especially interested in learning about applicants' efforts to give back to their community. Court-ordered community service does not count. The second section allows you to share more about your personal story. The first question requests additional achievements you would like to include, such as obtaining degrees, information about awards, and any other information that may be useful. The second question asks you to describe how your life has been impacted by having a criminal record. The final page of the intake questionnaire begins by asking you to describe why you want a pardon. This question is an important part of the pardon request. You must be able to explain the specific ways in which you believe you will benefit from a pardon if granted. Next, you will need to identify pardon application references. If you are accepted into the project, you will be asked to provide letters of support as part of the full pardon petition. List anyone who would be willing to write a letter of support for you. They may include community leaders, religious leaders, employers, friends, neighbors, or family members. Please give their full name and their relationship to you, if any, and how long you have known them. The final question asks whether a lawyer has helped you complete this form. The Expedited Pardon Project provides a free lawyer to help you if you are accepted into the project as a client. If you worked with a lawyer to complete your intake packet, including working with one of the project's service providers, please include their name and contact information. Finally, the form must be signed and dated. The second required form in the intake packet is the DRC 3012 Clemency Hearing Release of Information. This form allows the ODRC to complete a full search of applicants' criminal records. The project requires that only some of the fields on this form be completed. On the first page, you should include your name, last, first, middle, your maiden name or alias, if applicable, your date of birth, social security number, sex, and race. You should not complete any other fields on this page of the form. On page 2, you should add your signature and the date. You should not complete any other fields on this page of the form. The third form in the intake packet is the DRC 3033 screening form, also known as the Expedited Pardon Process Checklist. Please note that while this form requires similar information to that of the intake questionnaire, both must be completed. The first section of the form requests contact information as well as counties of conviction if applicable. The form then requests the date of the last conviction for any felony or misdemeanor, the date of termination from supervision, if applicable, and the date all fines, court costs, and restitution were paid in full, if applicable. Next, you are required to list all of the Ohio convictions for which you are seeking a pardon. You should also include case numbers and the county of conviction for each. If you are seeking a pardon for a sealed conviction, it too must be included here. While sealed convictions will not appear on a background check, it can still prevent someone from doing things like serving on a jury, and only a pardon can restore those rights. Plus, the parole board requires disclosure of all convictions. The last question on page 1 of the DRC 3033 form asks you to include your most recent employment and the dates you held that employment. If you do not have any post-release employment, you should include the reasons you were not employed. Page 2 of the DRC 3033 screening form asks you to provide a brief summary with start and end dates of your volunteer and non-court-ordered community service. Finally, you should sign and date the form. Once you have completed all 3 forms of the intake packet, the next step should be to make and keep a copy for your records. Submitted application materials will not be returned. If you do not have access to printing and copying at home, most local libraries have computers, copiers, and printers available for use. Shipping stores such as UPS or FedEx Office also provide copying and printing services. Finally, you will need to submit the original hard copy version of your completed intake packet and any other required documents via U.S. mail to the University of Akron School of Law Legal Clinic. Materials mailed via other methods, such as UPS or FedEx, have encountered delivery issues. Once we receive your completed intake packet, we will notify you as to whether or not you are accepted into the project. If you are accepted, you will then be placed with a participating service provider. Service providers for the Expedited Pardon Project may include participating university law schools and clinics in Ohio, legal aid organizations, private practice attorneys, or law firms. This assistance is free for those accepted into the Expedited Pardon Project. Please note, Meeting the minimum requirements does not guarantee admission into the project. The project team has discretion to decline applications that do not align with the mission of the project. People not accepted into the Expedited Pardon Project can still apply for a pardon through the traditional path, or may be eligible for other record relief options such as record sealing, expungement, or the CQE. Information about these options can be found at moritzlaw.osu.edu/ohio-criminal-record-relief-options. If you have additional questions not answered by this presentation or the project website, please reach out to us via email at ogepp@osu.edu or submit your question through the project website at ohioexpeditedpardon.org/contact-us. Thank you for watching Module 2, Completing the Intake Packet. For an overview of the project, including the application process, eligibility, and more, watch Module 1, Introduction for Applicants.